I feel it's really important to stay grounded from a practitioner perspective, and this is why whenever I'm sharing information about the learning methodology I've created, 5 elements of voice work, I'm always talking from an experiential point of view. So this approach to voice work, to personal development, to self-discovery is still in evolution, and it will continue to be, and I find that really exciting and reassuring, because this is also a philosophical framework and an approach to life that as I continue to explore and utilize and begin to translate it into other areas, you know, voice being the central theme, the lens, the rootway or the mechanism through which all of these different concepts and tools are being explored, it starts to become clearer for me that my perspective on voice is, you know, looking at through one particular channel or one particular lens, but the nature of voice, the nature of personal identity, being holistic, being multidisciplinary, means that I'm able to explore all of these different facets of expression and communication. So in that sense, there's this constant fluidity in the perspective of moving between microcosm and macrocosm, if voice was a kind of analogy for life experience, in the same way that someone who is a dancer might say dance alludes to life as a flavour or a metaphor or a representation of. But because voice is ultimately so personal, if I were to speak to a segment of people on the street and I ask them, you know, what does the phrase "the true voice" mean to you? Everyone would have a different answer, also a different language, a different way of expressing that. And this is why it's such an interesting discipline to work in, and why I say I do find it reassuring that it is a work in progress, because there is such amazing science coming out at the moment, and so many incredible practitioners working in voice, like not only in clinical settings, but in voice work in theatre, you know, somatic work, trauma work, and the potential for all of these different flavours to combine and be stirred up in the pot is massive. And rather than that diluting the potency or the quality of delivery, I feel like it enriches it. If you have a strong framework, if you have a strong intention and a clear expression of what you hope the work will achieve for you, what it strives to work towards or enable you to do, that creates form and structure. And then allows you to be more flexible in adapting and tailoring a methodology to suit your needs, and it also enables it to be accessible to a wider range of people from, you know, different backgrounds, different experience levels. And that's always been something that's been really important to me when in a teaching capacity, but also when trying to create educational resources that can meet the experience of the user, you know, wherever they're at, and trying to also be aware that through different disciplines there can be shared uses of terminology, but the terminology can mean different things to different disciplines. So to be able to really clarify what you mean when you say, like, when I talk about voice, I mean this, or when I talk about personal identity, I mean this, just so there is always a reinforcement of your particular framework in place as something that's a structure that other things can be connected to or placed onto. And yes, in that respect too, for the longevity of a particular discipline to be able to stand the test of time and have legacy, and also to provide a solid foundation for other people to continue on your work. That's ultimately what I'm striving for long term, is that it's not kind of like the book is closed and that's done, but, you know, to leave something in place that has a set of parameters in place that are kind of connected to the, like, evolution of the idea, its history, what it's emerged and evolved from, but also with, you know, some open-ended questions there that are you're leaving there more room, more excitement and curiosity to explore beyond the scope of what's been possible for you to achieve with your resources, with your mind, with the opportunities that you've created or been given in your lifetime. So I just felt called to kind of go into a little bit of the energy behind you know, how this approach to voice work has, you know, continued to evolve over the last couple of years, because I really feel you know, although there are certain elements right now that I would like to kind of push forward that are only going to be possible with more financial resource, for example, is a big one. I have absolute trust and confidence in the sustainability of yeah, this journey. It's a journey in itself, you know, bringing this work forward, and also as a practitioner, you know, allowing myself to become more resourced and to learn new skills, which all then become threads that you start to weave into, like, the fundamentals of your practice, so that then you can start to say, well, this is a trauma-informed practice, or this is you know, accessible to, like, this segment of people, because you have resourced yourself with these additional elements that add value add meaning, and continue to inform each other. So that's why working in a kind of multidisciplinary, holistic way is really important to me as well. And I feel like that is a strength. And for people that are not used to exploring things from that kind of, it's almost a spiraling perspective rather than purely a cyclical one, because I think the pattern of learning and exploration brings you round again and again to themes and ideas, qualities, archetypes, and as your evolution of understanding continues to grow, there's an opportunity to revisit places and check in and say, like, oh, you know, does this piece of the puzzle, does it stay where it is? Is it on pause? Does that get a bit more nourishment and acceleration? And how does that then have an impact on these other parts in terms of like an overall quality of growth? So yeah, that's kind of energetically where things are at with 5 elements of voice work at the moment. And as I say, the commitment to exploring the practice in an experiential sense and adding to that and doing my best to document where appropriate, and to when those lessons feel, you know, fully integrated and embodied to a point that there's a confidence and trust in the validity of those, the effectiveness of those, to then be able to start sharing those with students, and also translating those teachings into creative work, into the other specific creative projects I have, then, you know, that gives me pleasure and confidence, and it gives me a specific means by which to kind of communicate what is this work actually about. It's you know, rather than just trying to construct the like learning resources and materials and just kind of like punt that and market that, which feels a little bit dry, you know, to actually engage people that are interested with the process of evolution, because yeah, embracing that ride and seeing kind of where it takes you, and also to then be able to have a reference point of like where have I come from, and how have I been shaped through the process of immersing in my own practice, and continuing to adapt and evolve that in ways that feel helpful, and also then having the resource and language and reference point when people are approaching you for support with a particular area of like personal and vocal development, that you've got in your toolkit a reference point there to be like, well, you know, here's an example of this in practice, or just the social resonance of feeling like you are being supported by someone who has been through the journey, or, you know, at least is a little further along the journey and is resourced to be able to offer you the kind of guidance and support that feels appropriate. So yeah, on that note, if you are feeling called to learn more about 5 elements of voice work and the different ways in which it may be able to support you, not only in your practice with voice, but creativity, well-being, confidence, in all areas of life, then please feel free to reach out, to make inquiries. I haven't been doing any workshops for a little bit, but that will inevitably come full circle again before the end of the year. For now, I'm doing one-to-one sessions. If that's of interest, then please get in touch, and it would be great to hear from you. And yeah, stay tuned for more evolutions and explorations. See you soon.